Alright, welcome back to, this is the first CD video that I've actually, gone out of my way to record in a while. All the videos, that I've been posting of CDs previously were recorded, a year ago. And this is the first CD video, as I'm recording, it's August 28th, 2023. And all those other CD videos were recorded from, all the way back in, 2021. So yeah, I've been buying CDs across the time of not making the videos, and I think I have about 15, including the three I have next to me. So I got three albums right here. Two of them are metal, one is hip hop, and also I hope the new format of these CD videos that I've been doing have been more enjoyable than the older ones, because now these go more into the actual CD themselves and the music and all that. So I'm hoping that format is more enjoyable. Of course, criticisms and feedback are greatly appreciated. But the first album that we're going to be going into is Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. You can see the fucking OBS in the CD reflection. So, this is the front. This is the back. Now, let's get into this CD and booklet. Oh wow, they're going heavy with the skulls. So it looks like they have a time glass, and the CD is also just covered with fucking skulls. I'm really digging the art so far. First page of the booklet is lyrics, which is also always really cool to see. I think I mention that every time there are lyrics, but there is a little bit of artwork on the bottom. Seems to be a skeleton in some kind of graveyard, I'd say, which is fitting for this album's theme. So, we got some more lyrics right here, but we also got some really cool art. At the bottom looks to be a skeleton with a scythe, which is always really cool to see. So it looks like they fit in, looks to be just an image of the band just chilling, and then the Welcome to the Family single cover, I believe. Oh, wow, that fucking hits. So, I'm going to go into the more review section of the video, but it looks like for Fiction, all of the Rev's main vocal parts are in red, while Matt's are in the white. Wow, that hits a lot harder than I thought it was going to. I wasn't mentally prepared to be coming into this CD. And then, of course, the end, we got Rev... Jimmy the Rev Sullivan with Fiction, and then my finger is just covering credits, and then a little skeleton playing the piano. Wow, that hits a lot harder than I thought it would.
Nightmare is Avenged Sevenfold's fifth release and final without Jimmy the Rev Sullivan. I mentioned this in my Avenged Sevenfold self-titled video, but it wouldn't be appropriate to talk about this album without mentioning its backstory and overall theme. On December 28, 2009, Jimmy was found unresponsive in his home and was pronounced dead at the arrival to the hospital at the age of 28. In the toxicology results, traces of oxycodone, oxymorphone, Valium, Nordazepam, and alcohol were found in Jimmy, and he had an enlarged heart when he passed. A private funeral was held for Jimmy, and the likes of Vinnie Paul, Matt Tuck, and members of Buck Cherry and My Chemical Romance were present as well. The Nightmare album consistent theme is about Jimmy's death, aside from a select few songs. So Far Away was written and composed entirely by Sinister Gates, who originally wrote the song for his grandfather, but decided to dedicate it to Jimmy once he had passed. So Far Away in particular is a beautiful song, especially with the outro. Most of the song is led by acoustic instruments until the solo, then the outro hits. And I wouldn't be lying if I didn't say that the outro to the song has made me nearly cry a few times. It gets more aggressive while still keeping its somber tone. After So Far Away is God Hates Us, which is almost the complete polar opposite of So Far Away. God Hates Us is nearly entirely aggressive and has a riff that's akin to thrash metal, while So Far Away is close to post-grunge. Victim and Tonight the World Dies follows afterwards, and it carries a depressive feeling that makes you feel what the band was going through. Fiction is a song in particular I wanted to mention, namely because of its backstory. Fiction was a song originally titled Death, and it was written for the Rev's original band, Pinkly Smooth. 3 days after Jimmy turned Fiction into the band to be put on the album is the date that Jimmy was found dead in his home. The version of Fiction that was released is almost like a duet ballad. Matt and Jimmy share some verses, sometimes they split, and the chorus is only performed by Jimmy. Fiction is truly a beautifully crafted song, and the lyrics hit so much deeper once you learn the meaning of them. The drumming done for this album was written by Jimmy, but wasn't recorded. While it wasn't in Jimmy's wishes, Avenged Sevenfold asked and had Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater to perform the drums for this album. Now, I want to talk about the previously mentioned tracks that I didn't really go into. The title track is one of the band's best, and I love the progression throughout. It starts with these light keys that's almost like a haunting melody. Then, bam, the guitars fucking jump at you with their harmonization along with the drumming. It instantly sets this tone for the song and almost the album as a whole. This haunting, dark piece of musical media that details the story of a sinner who's condemned to an eternal life of suffering and hell. The chorus sounds itself almost ironically enough like Matt is becoming a choir of angels or devils in this matter, especially with his gritty voice. Welcome to the Family is its follow-up and is like a prequel to the title track. The protagonist of the song seemingly has died of a drug overdose and details how he's hopeless. Danger Life follows a string of Avenged Sevenfold songs that's about the war. This one specifically on a soldier. Avenged Sevenfold has similar songs to this, like MIA from City of Evil and Gunslinger from Self-Titled. Just like this album's theme, the soldier dies at the end, even hoping that there is a god, since he knows where he's headed. Also, fun fact, Save Me was the longest Avenged Sevenfold song at nearly 11 minutes before the band wrote Exist for their album The Stage. Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold is a solid 90 out of 100. Some of the longer songs like Victim and Tonight the World Dies falls a little flat for me, even if I love the meaning and lyrical content. But overall, this album is a ride through a metaphorical graveyard. It's dark and haunting and hits the perfect tone for what it was going for. It is a perfect memorial album in every sense of the word.
So the next album I'm going to be looking at is Ice Nine Kills the Silver Scream 1. I'm showing this while the plastic wrap is still on because I wanted to show off this sticker. I always love when these bands put these stickers on and it shows their hits. This one says featuring A Grave Mistake and The American Nightmare. This reminds me of the Duality one that I remember it said, like, for fans of Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco, the song Why Worry is here. And I still find that fucking hilarious that they did that. Now, if you're a fan of Ice Nine Kills or even are aware of their more recent ventures in music, you would know that this album is about, horror movies. Every song in this album has something to do with a horror movie. And they really went into that with the CD artwork, because the back, it looks like one of those old theaters, which is really cool. Even got all the track listing on there. And then the front cover, obviously the Silver Scream with a knife, which is really cool. And on the top, it's kind of hard to read, but it says, "They say it's hard getting into the movies. Try getting out." I'm not too sure if that's a reference to anything in particular, but, and then the bottom two says psychos only, and it's like a mock of the MPAA, which is really cool. So let's get into the inside. Wow, they really went into the whole movie theater theme, and honestly, I really fuck with it. Now, if you don't know me personally, I come from a background of loving horror movies. It got to the point where I set up a Google Doc documenting every single horror movie I've seen, and I haven't updated it within recent times because I haven't watched as many horror movies within recent times, but I believe the doc got up to like 230 plus horror movies. And obviously, me being a horror movie fan, when I first listened to this album back in 2021, I think, either 2021 or 2022, I pretty much loved this album on a first listen. Now, this is the inside. We got the cool little double bat there. And then the CD itself kind of looks like a film reel. This is just really cool so far. I'm really loving the atmosphere on this album so far. Wow, I am really loving all the... So it looks like the beginning of a film script because it's all white. This looks like the beginning of a film script. Oh my god, so this honestly isn't like... So they really went with this, the film script so far because all the lyrics... And I gotta say, I really do like this. Like, even it's simplistic, but it works in its favor. Yeah, so I'm not gonna show the rest of this booklet by the looks of it because it's really all just that I showed off, but with the other songs. So there isn't really much to show off now. And then it, crediting and the booklets and whatever. So yeah, I guess my only complaint is I wish there was some more art in the booklet than just this film script. But like I said, it's simplistic, but it really works in its favor. So I can't really even complain about the booklet itself. So here's the CD in a better close-up. Just, really fucking cool. Also, I found out that, or I didn't find out, I've known that these guys toured with Hollywood Undead in the Rockazilla tour, I think a year or so back, and that was really cool. I think, no, this wasn't Spencer. It was the Papa Roach, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who did Undead live with Hollywood Undead for a bit because Danny had COVID. But yeah, that was really cool.
The Silver Screen by Ice Nine Kills is a horror movie inspired album, carrying inspiration from the likes of Friday the 13th, Saw, and all the way to movies like Jaws. This actually isn't the first Ice Nine Kills album to be inspired by media, as their previous album, Every Trick in the Book, was inspired by books. This album was produced by Drew Folk, who is one of Hollywood Undead's producers as well. Ice Nine Kills had a set direction for this album and took with it perfectly. The gimmick doesn't get old by the end, and some songs utilize key features of the inspired by movies in their songs, like the iconic camera sound from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Jaws theme, and the circus march can be heard in the songs that was inspired by their respective movies. They even went as far as to include Stanley Kubrick's nephew, Sam Kubrick, into their song about The Shining. True dedication went into this album, and it doesn't feel like they just use horror movies for an easy way to write out lyrics. On top of that, this track list is stacked with bangers. This album's core sound is melodic metalcore with pulls from alternative metal and symphonic metal. The majority of the songs are energy-packed headbangers with surprisingly great riffage. While I haven't listened to a whole lot of melodic metalcore, I certainly haven't heard such very riffs all-in-one melodic metalcore album either. The vocals on this album are typically clean, but there are a good chunk of moments with pure growled vocals, and one of their backing vocalists is just straight up doing fucking death metal vocals. But even with all these influences, they all work. This album doesn't feel loose or like something was tacked on with glue and hoping that it would stick. This shit was glued together with some kind of glue that people would put on their hair, then have to get the glue surgically removed. Also, it doesn't help that I love the majority of movies on this album, which may add to my enjoyment. But even then, I'm sure someone who is a total outsider to the horror genre can enjoy the horrorcore-themed lyrics. Overall, this album is just perfect for me. It ticks a lot of non-existing boxes I would have had for this album, and it's almost like a humorous album in some ways and serious in another. Ice Nine Kills had to be respectful to the original creators, and overall, I think they did a great job. Although this album does have a few forgettable tracks, and some that I just think are alright in comparison to the other ones. Good overtakes bad, as it usually does. I'll give The Silver Scream a solid 88 out of 100. If you're a horror metalhead that's looking for something more upfront than, say, Rob Zombie, then I'd say this is perfect for you.
Alright, last album I'm going to be getting into is the Marshall Mathers LP 1. This is the back as well. If you've listened to this album on streaming services, you would know that the album cover changed. I forget the reason why. Okay, bit of a weird CD, pretty simplistic, just a picture of Mr. Eminem, and it's his E with copyright. There is a picture on the back of the CD that is Mr. Nem. I could be wrong, but I think that was used in a promo for an album art. I could be wrong. I'll check later. All right, so the first image, or just the back, is. Also, I must say, this booklet feels a lot different. I mean, I don't know, there's something about this booklet, it feels a lot different than the other ones. I don't know, it like a different material. I don't know what it is, but it just feels different. It feels older. I mean, this album, comparative to the other two, Silver Scream came out in, 2019, and Nightmare came out in, I think, 2010 or something, and this album came out in, I think, 2001, so, I don't know, it still feels old, but, not in a bad way. So the first picture, is we got Shady Lane, and, what is that? Mr. Nem, just a bunch of pictures of Mr. Nem, which is pretty cool. Looks like it's crediting, too. Another picture of Mr. Nem next to a car. It looks like he's fucking in New York for some reason. Then some more pictures. Fuck you, Mom. I'm not too sure what the fuck is going on here, honestly. I really don't. I see a wrist, so I'm going to assume suicide. Pretty sure this image was used in something for Stan, right? Something for the Stan promotion? I could be wrong. Then just another. It looks like an image reel, almost. This next thing looks to be baby pictures and just. It's like, those things you see. Is that fucking proof? Just a bunch of. It's like those things you'd see, families have. Like, my family had this giant, just this giant frame that had a bunch of pictures in it. And we got this. I'm not even going to try to describe what the fuck is going on, because I really don't anymore. Okay, then we have a picture of D12, which I haven't yet listened to. Honestly, I don't know why, but I have yet to really listen to any D12. We got this. I'm pretty sure this image was used for the real Slim Shady single art. Then we got a guy pissing, because it looks fucking cool. And then Eminem, the Marshall Mathers LP.
The Marshall Mathers LP is the third album released by Eminem and varies widely in style and lyrical material. Much of the lyrics seen on his second album, the Slim Shady LP, was about broke life in Detroit, Michigan, but this album is practically the complete opposite. Some of these songs are basically Eminem's reaction to what it's like to be one of the biggest faces of hip-hop in such a short amount of time. On top of this, Eminem took from his second album and included a lot of pop culture references, basically just making fun of celebrities. I mean, in The Real Slim Shady, Eminem says about how Fred Durst and Christina Aguilera has fucked. This album's constant change in theme and eclecticism just shows how versatile Eminem is as a lyricist. As his previous record, despite his newfound fame, some of his old issues still made it onto this album. Notably, the morbid song Kim details a gruesome and detailed fantasy about him kidnapping his ex-wife and killing her. This song is a set prequel to the song 97 Bonnie and Clyde that was on the Slim Shady LP. Even though Eminem doesn't portray much storytelling in his music, Stan is a written masterpiece that features the pop artist Dido on the chorus. The chorus for Stan actually wasn't written for that song specifically, as it came from an already written Dido song, Thank You. Stan is a song that follows the story of Stanley and his obsession with Eminem, and the story itself is told by letters that he writes to Eminem. By the third verse, Stan has a mental episode that leads to him killing his pregnant wife and himself by driving off a bridge. Unlike Kim, Stan doesn't feel like a song that was just written to have more people inside Eminem's head die. The story is played out well and feels genuine even if it is just a piece of fiction. The track listing on this album is pretty long and can feel bloated at times. It doesn't help that this album overall has a slower pace than, say, The Eminem Show, which was this album's follow-up. A lot of the songs are decently long, and truthfully, I find this album better in bite-sized chunks rather than a full listen. This album is still filled with great tracks and funny skits, my favorite of which being the Ken Kniff skit. My only question is, where the fuck did he get those slopping, sucking sounds from? I personally grew up with the poppy lead single The Real Slim Shady and have grown to love it since, even if it was written in the span of like an hour. Yeah, the backstory for that song is kind of funny. Eminem's label wanted him to open up with a poppy lead single similarly to My Name Is on his second album. The rest of this album is extremely dark and disturbing for the most part. A lot of this album deals with Eminem's personal struggles, seen in songs like Kill You, The Way I Am, and Marshall Mathers. But this album does have his comedic breaks, like the gangster rap song Bitch Please 2 and Under the Influence. But there are tracks that I just don't care for. Remember Me has a really shit hook and one of the mildest verses ever, performed by Sticky Fingers, and a lot of the hooks were done by Eminem, and he is in no proper way a vocalist, but he still manages to make his hooks catchy. Overall, the Marshall Mathers LP is an 85 out of 100 for me. 2 mediocre songs out of an album with 12 other great ones work perfectly. Like I said before though, I prefer this album on smaller scales than One Big Bite.
Well, I must say, good haul. No complaints here. If you enjoyed, let me know. Give criticisms, feedback, all is appreciated, and I hope you have a good day.